Hello, team. This is Dr. Miranda. Again, it is a great privilege to spend a few moments with you. We are going to discuss, again, international expansion and business risks. We're going to go through a brief review of some of the key takeaways from Module 6 as you continue developing your capital budgeting and international expansion business plans. There comes the moment in your planning where it becomes very important for you to consider risks. Now, there are several ways that we can approach risk. One is from a theoretical point of view, from management strategies, from what the academic literature and the professional research has to say about risk. All of that is good information. You should have a really good understanding, at least from a theoretical point of view, how risk, specifically international expansion business risk, can have on your international expansion. Risk is something that is part of everyday business life. Unfortunately, there has been companies throughout history, but I would say recent history, that have, unfortunately, to their own detriment and to the detriment of their own investors, they have totally neglected the area of risk. Now, let's go over what we covered on Module 6 concerning international expansion business risks. All right. Now, we focused again on our main deliverable, which was the Milestone 2 paper, and this paper continues to build on your expansion proposals. And the focus on risk was important because, again, every expansion has important risk factors to consider. Okay, very important. We cannot simply put our heads in the sand as business leaders and forget about business risks or totally disregard them. We must be courageous, we must be proactive, we must confront those risks so we can better position our companies on how to mitigate or minimize for those risks, because there is no way to actually eliminate risk in business. Business is a risky operation, and we are in business to what? To make money. So if you're not going to be in business, you're not going to make money, at least not that way. So we want to minimize risk. We want to mitigate risks, not totally eliminate the risk. So let's consider the following things that we have already discussed during Module 6. Now, the difference between accountants and finance professionals is that accountants need proper, orderly, and certainty. Finance professionals work in an environment of partial or inaccurate data, imperfect historical data, and often projections are made in an environment that is quite uncertain, and sometimes it is made in haste. Again, the focus of this group of this course is not really accounting. Okay, it is a mixture again of financing, economic, but how to make better decisions based on those two very important principles of business and economics: financing and economics. Okay, again, the world of the accountant, it's a very orderly world, so to speak. It's a world where there is a great amount of certainty. The rules and regulations don't change as much as in the finance world. It is pretty much a world of the past in terms of accounting is looking backwards, what happened, what has been recording, and what I'm going to record now, what has been reconciliated in the past and what is going to be reconciliated now. So accounting is a very calm, relatively calm and tranquil waters. Finance, on the other hand, as all of you finance professionals know, it's a very fast working environment. It is the environment of the now, and also what is going to be happening in the future, how we position our company on a good financial principle, good financial strategic methodology on how we're going to take this business and we're going to make it expand. We want it to do brilliantly. We want it to be very profitable. But that's the world of finance. Okay, it is at time uh, uh, very unsettling, very turbulent waters, but it is a very interesting area to be in. Okay. Again, also consider that finance professionals cannot wait for perfect data. It will never happen. We all want perfect data. We believe in quality data. I first began my career as a financial analyst, lowly financial analyst at Citigroup. And one of my jobs was to actually analyze the data for quality methodology and quality principles at Citigroup. We have done a series of international purchases, particularly in Central and South America, and I was the person responsible to put in place the program by which we could analyze the quality of that data. Now, I can tell you, I guarantee you, I even built a databases so we could make the process a little bit more efficient. But there was never a time when we received perfect data. So financial professionals, you will never have perfect data. Sometimes you can try to work for better quality, but it will never happen. So you are working with imperfect data at times. Okay. Also, analysis of paralysis can be very destructive as it leads to non-decisions, which is actually a decision to do nothing. And analysis of or paralysis of analysis is very deadly in finance. So again, in the finance world, remember, very risky because we're dealing with imperfect data most of the time, and we're trying to make the best decision possible. And remember, one goal of this course is how you take financial data and economic principles and data. So how better to interpret that data so you can make better decisions for your business. Okay, but remember, it's as a business leader, you must be able to make a decision, not hasty, timely. There's a difference. You have to be timely, and most of the time in financing, you're working with imperfect data, but you must be able to wade through the imperfection and find the beautiful gems in there. Okay. Now, have to understand, we had discussion into financial modeling, and I was very excited to analyze your financial model spreadsheets. They were right on. Very, very beautiful modeling that you've done, beautiful principles that you have embraced, and I saw some really out of the box thinking, some very effective, and you are to be congratulated. Now, also understand this, that uncertainty can be worked into financial modeling through decision trees, process mapping, scenario analysis, and contingency planning. Yes, there will always be uncertainty, but when you apply those principles and those tools that I have just mentioned, they will enable you to work in an environment, although uncertain, but it will provide you a sound methodology by which you can analyze and cope with the uncertainties of the business, of the market around you, but also of the data that you are reading. Understand 4, the business risk and uncertainty is part of everyday's financial decisions. 5, organizations often consider many proposals, some quite good. However, investments are often considered as part of a corporate strategy. For example, E-Trade's retirement portfolios fall within a group of investments. No investments are standalone products. Pooling portfolios often leads to better risk management and performance strategy. 6, organizations often prepare 2 annual budgets, operating budget and capital budgeting. Operating budget is for business and usual business expenses, and capital budgeting is, of course, for planning investments and growth. And those, of course, were the main takeaway from Module 6. Now, from the textbook, we also gleaned from last week's reading some really important principles. Again, this is a review. One is that decision tree is a useful tool to illustrate and visualize risks. They also help in the management of a project's implementation as it provides decision trigger points. I remember also in my days at Citigroup and other organizations that we use decision trees, but also process mapping has a way to identify not only each process in the operation, but also which risk that are embedded in those particular processes. And we also had different categories for the risks, whether they were high, medium, or low, whether they were key risks, or whether they were, I would say, standalone risks. So process mapping and decision tree is a very useful tool that you can apply to your business so you can identify the particular risk in your process. Okay. Now, risk magnitude is more important than the impact of the risk. And of course, we had a really great paragraph in the text that really dealt with what kind of magnitudes in terms of the risk and how that is translated into the actual business and operation of the risk and how that can impact your business. So it was a very good read. And three, sensitivity analysis is a very important tool because it can measure the effect of different inputs as sales. Four, the text dealt with scenario analysis. And a very interesting tool that we have is called a Monte Carlo analysis. And then this is a break-even analysis, okay, that allows for better decision making for financial professionals. Okay. Now, I've also provided a list of additional resources, and this is actually research that's done by businesses and academics, and I urge you to take a look at those risks, and they are, of course, available at our university's library, but I also went ahead and I provided you with the actual link. All you have to do is click and use your access protocols, username and password, and you will be able to zoom in right into that particular journal. As you have seen, I believe that in presenting the information, but also being very efficient in presenting that information, because not only are you a student, but you are also a professional, and time is of the essence. So I always believe in being very efficient. Now, this is the time during the module. It is one that I enjoy the most, okay, which is a practical application of what we have learned, combining my personal information, professional proficiency. I've been in risk management for over a decade, both in international organizations as well as national, dealing with mortgages, dealing with investment portfolios, dealing with trades, but also dealing with international banking and the operational side of it, as well as the other risk management team on an international level. I was responsible for overseeing and testing for risks for China, for Brazil, for Venezuela, for the Philippines, for Central American countries, and including, of course, North America. And that was, primarily with Mexico. So I have a lot of information when it comes to risk management. I've also had the great honor to write articles for schools, and I have a list of those articles specifically dealing with risk, operational risk, risk management, and they are available at my website at www.dr-miranda.com. Okay, and those, of course, are available for free. Now, I'm going to talk to you about applying risk, the application of risk. Business is a risky activity, no matter the type or location. When it comes to business, risk is like death in taxes. They will always be there. As a business executive, you can deal effectively with risk. You can mitigate for it, accept it, or reject the risky business activity. The strategy you use will depend on the type of risk, degree of risk, and possible consequences of the risk. Sometimes you will accept the risk because the profits outweigh the possible losses. For example, we pay automobile insurance in the off chance of an accident. Driving our cars is a risk we can live with. We even choose to pay a bit more for uninsured motorists. The benefits outweigh the possible losses. As business executives, we do the same. Sometimes we mitigate for the risk. For example, we implement controls around the activity as mitigation effort. Also, we may choose to purchase specialized insurances or hire consultants, security, specialized software, or hardware to deal with the business activity. But at times we may choose to reject certain business activities as too risky. It takes a lot of courage to sometimes say no, especially when it's a perceived profitable activity. I've been there and been vindicated, but it wasn't fun dealing with fellow managers, my superiors, or my clients. People simply do not like listening to no, even when you do it politely or it makes all the sense in the world. Now, here are a few tips on how, as a business leader, you can deal with risk. One, understand your business holistically. Do you understand your business? Everything about your business. You may not be the founding member, but I believe that once you work for an organization, it doesn't matter if you found it, it doesn't matter if you are on the board of directors or if you are simply a person working to cleaning the bathrooms or the person delivering the mail. Once you become part of the organization, it is your duty as a business leader to understand everything about your business. You must understand how it exists, how it conducts business. You must know who the clients are. You must know the vision and the mission. Okay, you must know its strength and its weaknesses because you have a stake in that business. Okay. Second, do you understand your market? Okay. Often there are companies who don't understand their market. They don't understand holistically that market. They don't understand the direction that market is going to take. They don't understand the principles that are driving that market. And the problem is, without fully understanding the risks in those markets, the company cannot strategically position itself to, one, mitigate risk, and two, being profitable. Okay. Or three, adapting its services or products to meet the demands of that market. And we must understand as business leaders that markets change every single day. And because we are living in a global society, okay, people in Idaho are now competing with people in India. People in India are now competing with people in Brazil. People in Brazil, businesses there, are competing with businesses in Europe. Businesses in Europe are now competing with businesses in Africa. Businesses in Africa are competing with businesses in Asia. And there is risk involved in all of that if we don't truly understand the inherent nature of the market or the risks within that market. Three, do you understand the dynamics of your market that may negatively or positively affect your business, culture, politics, business environment, import, exports, religion, socioeconomics? Again, this is actually undergirding or highlighting how important it is as business leaders for us to understand our market. But please let us not simply understand the business. We must understand how politics drive our markets, how religion drives our markets, how philosophy drives our markets, how the media drives our market, and how consumer behavior drives our market. So we must understand that within all of that, there are inherent risks, and has professionals, as executives, as managers, as members of that business, we must fully understand our market. Now, what are the particular risks in your business operations? Project those same risks in your expansion market. How do they differ from your home operation? This is important. Domestic businesses that are expanding abroad, they must understand the leaders, the risk in their business operations at home. So they must have a full grasp, full grasp of the risks, of operational risks in their home business. Now, what you need to do and what they need to do as they consider an international expansion is now to project what the risks will be in that particular market, what the business operation risks will be, because they will be different, because you're dealing with a different language, different culture, different regulations, different political demands. You're looking at different religious backgrounds. And so all of these conditions will have a bearing on your business operation. So we have to understand those risks. Now, how will you mitigate those risks? For example, if you're planning on manufacturing in China and entering the Chinese market, how will you deal with the piracy risk? How will you protect your asset from piracy? Is your brand protected? Are you ready financially to take China to court to fight these issues? Or any other business in China to fight patents, infringement, and piracy issues? And this is, of course, true to anywhere in the planet. Now, in terms of the risks, are you willing to accept the risk? If so, do you have a threshold that your company can live with? Have you drawn a line in the sand, understandingly, okay, this is a threshold, and we can live within this matrix of risk here, of this operation. But if it goes below this matrix or this threshold, we can't deal with this risk anymore. It is non-acceptable, it has become non-profitable. I wrote actually a beautiful article dealing with the strategies of how you need to accept risk. And it's actually a mathematical formula that you can apply and create a threshold, a window, so to speak. And inside that window, you can operate, you can accept the risk. But once your figures go below that, then you should, in all sincerity, abandon those risks. Now, in terms of international expansion, are you willing to take the risk of nationalization of your manufacturing plant, the seizure of your assets, and possibly the loss of personnel in worst case scenarios? Now, of course, no responsible individual or business leader will ever consider an expansion, business expansion, to an area of the world where you have massive political and social instability. But even in the most stable of situations, you could have a change in leadership, you can have a change in politics, you can have a change and let's say a political ideology, from, for example, let's use Cuba. There used to be a democracy, open markets, and then with Fidel Castro, things changed, and then they were nationalized. Cuba nationalized many of the businesses in the island, and of course some of that is changing, but this is a good example on how businesses who are considering opening operations in politically unstable regions, it is something that you should take to heart when it comes to accepting of risk. Okay, and of course we discuss the continued effect of Brexit on the financial world. And look, this is still going on. It will still go on. The effects of Brexit are a little early to calculate. You have individuals who are pro Brexit, and they're saying that this is the best thing that happened to England, since the signing of the Magna Carta. You have those who are against it, Brexit, and they are saying that England is headed towards a financial Armageddon. And the business world and international business has a business leader. This is always an advice that I give to my clients. And this is something that may not be the most professional language, but I will try to use it in a parlance that those who are mostly in the Western world, and I believe to a great extension in other nations, for example, as India, Brazil, and Europe, who have exposure to international media. I always tell them, chill, calm down, take a breath. Don't rush to judgment. Okay. Don't run and cancel your expansion into Britain, or don't make any sudden moves, okay, that you may regret doing. Okay. Stay put, okay, because these things will often resolve themselves. Whether there will be a full exit from the EU, whether Britain will completely sever itself off from the EU. Okay. Remember, business is business. People will always need to do business, and people will always compromise when it comes to business. Remember, I have this crazy theory that what's been moving the world ever since the foundation of civilization has been business, commerce, international business. Okay, these things often are the forerunners of some of the biggest ideological and philosophical and political movements around the world. Okay, so again, just keep monitoring what's happening in Great Britain, because most of you have selected Great Britain has the area to which you want to expand your operations into. Okay, some of you have actually abandoned your plans and decided to actually go to the continental Europe to found your businesses there, because you want to take advantage of the freedom of movement of products within the European Union, where has now in Great Britain that has a big, huge question mark on it. Okay. I want to thank you for this opportunity to have spent this time to do the review of the International Expansion Business Risks module. I believe that we are looking for some really great capital budgeting proposals coming in 2 weeks. So if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, please contact me, and it would be a great